Hi and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Friday, August 13th, 2021, and today's topic is called Uncharted. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening August 3rd through the 8th, 2021, and this is show number 106 today. And before we get into those sky observations, I'd like to say good day, osio, how, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, kedu, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, dzień dobry, konnichiwa, dobrohonya, annyeonghaseyo, botorji, dobiden, aloha winala, kalimera, hudenda, and good day. And today's starter image is a combination of the welcome and morning greetings page with that of the words, wisdom, and spirit of the day. This is once again select cards pulled just for this show in mind, and they come from the Daily Crystal Inspiration and the Mystical Shaman or Shaman Oracle decks. We'll start off with Lemurian quartz, and the message there is to practice patience, go with the pace of nature, and trust that everything will happen in due course. It's a beautiful message, and it's a standalone message. I'll leave it there. Then we have Rainbow Obsidian down in the lower right, and that message is heal your heart. And I'd like to add, when you really look at the physiology of the heart itself, you find that it is an expert at giving and receiving in balance. So it is no wonder then that the heart feels broken when that flow is disrupted by emotional imbalances, such as seeming earth-shattering disappointments or removal of loves from our lives. And then again, it is ironic that at other times the heart can feel so full, yet appear empty in its four chambers when you look at it with some instrumentation, the four empty chambers. Anyhow, I'm going to leave it at that there as well and move on to the number 27 on the Hunter card. And that there's many meanings there, but this one is coming from the Angel Numbers Joanne Sacred Scribes site. If you just type that in and type in any number you're curious about, you'll see some beautiful meanings. This one for number 27 is believe in yourself, your intuitive message, and your inner promptings. And I have the two asterisks up here because you'll see at the very final photo of the show, we've got a number 27 involved. So that's just a little wink, I think, from the universe, a beautiful synchronicity here that we're in the flow of whatever messages are coming through. Now for the Hunter card itself, I'm going to do something different and go completely off-road and not even look at this image. Of course, there's so many directions to go with this image on the card. But I want to talk about the two maybe lesser, looked at meanings of the Hunter. And one is a Hunter is actually a watch with a hinged metal lid, to protect the crystal. Or, of course, when we look at the constellations at the equator, on the equator east of Taurus is the Hunter, or Orion, which is the Greek word for it. Anyway, that's kind of really all I wanted to say today about this, so let's get into the sky observations. Now, if you're new or returning to this channel, thank you so much for being here. Big heartfelt thanks and welcome to you. If you're new, stick around a bit. If you are returning, you may want to skip this part. I'm just going to go over some of the basics of what I'm doing and why. And if you are new, keep in mind I'm going to keep it really short today, an abbreviated version of my little intro on this. So if you want to know more, just see any of my previous shows past the last one. I go into a lot of detail. But for now, all I want to say is that since about 2018, I have been intently looking at the skies nonstop. There was quite an event that happened to shake up my world, so to speak, in the skies, something I observed and experienced to kind of force the issue. But I did kind of get a hint that the skies were really changing, especially in 2014. I know other Earth and Sky watching channels do have a go look at go have a look at those on YouTube. There are a lot of fascinating ones of people just like you and me taking direct observations of the skies and documenting in photos and videos. But, some of them have noticed things happening even in 2012 and earlier. So anyway, that's just a general time reference. But all that said, I just go about my daily business looking up the skies, even if it's just 2 to 5 minutes a day, and I invite you to do that as well if you're not doing it already. Just really look around and notice the clouds, the sun, all the characteristics about them, just see if you notice any changes. And I point them out in detail on all my shows, so I'm not going to go over which ones right now. But all I do is take some photos. You'll see original photo listed on the slides, or I'll call it enhanced photo. And when I say enhanced, I've simply edited attributes of the photo, such as color saturation, contrast, and brightness. That's really about it. I just up the levels a little and down them a little, and bam, you just see a whole new world of things pop up in the photos when you do that. And that's because the camera phone I'm using, or really it's an old one, just any one of them these days, has such a vaster range of light and photosensitivity than our human eye can do at the moment. And it catches some very interesting things. So also the sixth sense is involved, so I look with direct observation, but also I may just feel something is up in the sky even if I can't readily see it, and I'll take a picture and then I just do some of the basic enhancements and then I see why I had that feeling more often than not. Something pops up in there of interest. Now when I say cloud and activity down in the lower right hand corner, I'm referring to that there's a highly suspect that there is cloaking craft at play. And hang on one second. I'm back. And by cloak and craft, I mean something of advanced ET origin or craftsmanship, basically. So just some of the things I've been seeing have just been so sophisticated and so large in scale or intricate. I just, I just don't believe it's of human hand, so to speak. Not to say it's not necessarily that it couldn't be a collaboration between military and something of advanced extraterrestrial origin, but for now I'm going to just say in most cases it's just ET or something supernatural. And that's when we get into the category of air elementals or sky wisps, and I cover that on previous shows as well. Okay, so that's just the gist. Also, when we get to some interesting color signatures, especially the reds and pinks in the sky, do look at the description box below. I cover what could possibly be generating that, and you may actually have some other theories to add in there of your own. Now, when I talk about cloaking material with this cloud in quotes, I'm simply going to have my go-to word. It's going to be plasma. It just is referring to something that's heavier and denser than just water vapor that can do a great job at cloaking. So anyway, we'll cover more and go over some more basics throughout the show when I come up on examples of the photos. So let's get into it. So here's just looking west toward the evening, and I just noticed how choppy and fuzzy kind of everything was starting to look. And that's what I refer to as staccato cloud. Even to the naked eye, it's all choppy when everything else is in focus. And to me, that means something is cloaking in there, whether it's right in that local area or above somewhere, that's generating a disturbance in the atmosphere via either electromagnetic wave activity or just some type of frequencies. I'm not sure. But anyway, it is a weird phenomenon that I've been noticing intently in the past few years. Now we look to the right. Hang on one more second. Okay, I'm back. So we look to the right and we see with some enhancement, we have some type of darker object. And what's weird is it looks like this is almost like a mirroring of this shape with like a little divider line, and then it's, happening back here again. So I don't know if this is one overall craft cloaking or two separate objects cloaking side by side, but definitely because it's much denser and we have this wafting, plasma material of different density floating over it. Just tells me there's something going on here. And also, it's so darn low in the sky. And this thing is just welling up, almost as if it's like right from the tree line coming up out of nowhere. And I've been noticing that phenomenon a lot lately, too. It's just so bizarre how low some of this stuff is. And then it's going straight up vertical, and it has no consistency to it that is of any definable cloud of decades past. Like, you can't call that a cumulus cloud. It's just like fallen apart. It's barely put together. It's just kind of ragtag. It's something different happening. All right, enough said about that. Then we're going to look at here, looking to the north. What caught my attention was just this kind of this glow. It was just a white glow, but it had a little bit of pink to it. So we look with an enhancement. There we go. Look how beautiful. It felt good and positive, but I just couldn't quite put my finger on what was happening. But of course, with a little bit of enhancement, I can see why I was detecting that. Then we're going to look here at a panorama, a bit of a panorama. So this is looking to the northwest. Actually, northwest is to the right of the photo, heading toward the south is to the left. And just, I noticed we'll spend time on the upper one. The bottom is the original, the top is the enhanced version. So here's that like glow point that I was looking at. And then we have these weird, cloud formations. Again, you can't call those typical cloud. So anyway, very interesting view there. And then looking to the west, the bottom is the original, the top is the enhanced version. I just noticed this strange, again, these aren't typical clouds, just popping up almost like 0 point right in front of you, below horizon point, just like above the trees. And so I'm just looking at this overall ragtag collection of stuff So to me, it was highly suspect that there's cloak and craft going on in here. And then when we have the enhancement at the upper version, we see like a different change in color signature up here. So I'm going to say that definitely there's some type of cloak and craft happening up in here. And looking at these sharp angles with these, clean lines, and here it looks like an upside down triangle or like an upside down trapezoid, and a triangular form here. Whenever we get into exact geometric shapes, especially if they're symmetrical, we don't have that up in a cloud system if it's something natural. And so, I'm going to call that cloak and craft. And when I say craft, it could also be some kind of object or instrumentation, something, or some cases portals. We'll see, what pops up later in the show. All right, here's more of this stuff. I'm just kind of, intrigued with what is going on. It's all choppy, so once again, I think there's something generating that fuzz out, if you will, local, through electromagnetic waves or some type of energy waves. And just, strange shapes kind of emerge out of this. And color signature looks very interesting. Okay, here we're looking, it's getting a little dimmer, so my camera's struggling a bit to capture anything with clarity, so it's going to be a little bit mappy or grainy. But in this one, I just want to point out mainly letter C. And again, I'm not always going to get to every letter that I drop in on some of these photos. There's going to be more than I can cover at any given moment. So if I don't talk about something or didn't highlight something that you want to see highlight, just let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to cover it in a future show. All right, let's look at the right-hand side. So we have this weird, whiter, like, form happening in front of what's dark. And whenever I see that, that tells me that's more than likely cloak and craft. And then we'll look at C.1. We're going to zoom in on that a bit. And here we see it up close, a little bit more. There's a strange burst of light energy coming from behind it, which really shouldn't in that part of the sky at this time of evening. And then here we go. I love it, though, because it helps backlight some of these objects. So that's an object. It's got some straight forms to it, even though it's a little irregular. It's definitely like a capsule shape, and it's of a denser quality because we have this other, again, like cloaking material wafting in front of it. So what is that thing? I don't know, but to me it's an object. See what you think, though. Now we're going to look north and to the left. It just was starting again to feel and look strange to me, including the light quality and color range. So we look to the right, and sure enough, we get that pink burst, magenta in this case. Then we get this weird crown-like form. It's arcing here a bit, kind of looks like a little crown. And then we have a white burst down here at C.1. Just overall thing just felt really strange. And then more strangeness, looking at A, this looks like it has a vapor trail coming down. So when we look at the right-hand side, it looks like all of this is like a big vapor swath coming in behind this object, which, this might be one of more of an interdimensional quality of craft. I didn't mention that up front. When I say cloaking objects, it could be 3D, where you could theoretically walk up, touch it, knock on it, or it could be something of a very ephemeral quality, kind of ghost-like, phantom-like that comes in and out. I think that's what we've got here. 8.1 has a weird texture, very staccato choppiness to it. Weird stuff is happening down here too, but I'll leave this, with this shape. But have a look on your own time too. Actually, this also might be like a sphere with an opening, like a hole in it. I'm seeing that too at B.1. But see what you find in here. Okay, now I'm also keeping the same image on the left, but now enhancing it in a slightly different way on the right, just blowing out the brightness even more, just to see again if we can pick out any other features or overall shapes or vapor trails with this thing to give us any more clues. I didn't get to too much more, but maybe you can find more things in here. Also, what's interesting to note, here actually, I now I remember why I did that. Here, see this line and this really dark point? This looks like an object coming in on a sharp angle with another type of object or cloaking material happening in front of it, if you see what I'm seeing here. Now, and I don't think this extends all the way down here, but, that's a possibility as well. Now, the other thing I want to point out is that if you have the ability to run this up on a laptop screen and at the same time have a smaller screen like a handheld device, like a phone, something that, takes it down more to a thumbnail, you're going to see very different things depending on if you're looking at this at a bigger scale or a smaller scale. So when I run these shows, I do it on a laptop screen, and I might miss something because I can't look at it at a smaller scale at the same time. And so see what you see if you have that ability to toggle back and forth between the scales. All right, let's keep going. So this was very interesting. Now I put this in the kind of like the sky wisp category of a supernatural phenomenon almost. But at the same time, it looked like it had structure, and it looked like it had a force field in front of it. And so it just was very curious with this thing happening on the back end, and this happening too. Looks like an object with a force field around it. And so here we go with some enhancement. I don't get to any other answers, but I find it fascinating. We're going to zoom in on B1 here. So B2, look at this. Look at these forms, you know. This looks triangular. So I really don't know what's going on in here, but it almost looks like a little figure is holding this triangle up. See what you think could be going on in that scene. I have to leave it there for now. Okay, now we're going to look at a view to the west toward the evening, and look at this strange show going on here. You know, just to the naked eye, we have all this stuff. This going on this angle, this going on an opposing angle, which, by the way, does not happen in a natural cloud system. If there were wind blowing across, which there really wasn't, how do we have these things, you know, running perpendicular to each other? Then we have this little bit down here, looks like a chemtrail. We have this strange, you know, darker gray cloud just doing its own thing in the middle of nowhere. It was just so bizarre. So we're going to look at the right-hand side with the enhancement. I took out all color just to help us maybe see things in a different way. And at B.1, I see something like flying off in an arc this way with a bright point. So to me, that is an object or a sensor or a spacecraft, something, cloak with a little bit of cloak on it. Then we look down at C.1, we still have this dark object and something dark popping out of here. We have this weird thing, but it has pattern to it. It has some striations that are parallel. Looks like it has structure and form, so I'm going to say that's a cloak and craft, cloaking in an unusual way. And we're going to look and zoom in. Sorry, I'm going to go back a second. We're going to zoom in different parts on this thing. So we're going to look at the C area, go in C.2. Look at this thing. That's not a natural cloud. Plus, it has some very straight, you know, very dark density to it. Weird squiggle things, too, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. Here we've got that chemtrail coming in down this way in the middle of everything. And I think this was one, too. Let's keep going. We're going to enhance it in a little different way. Here on this little object, we see a perfect semicircular curve with something happening here too. So I think that's part of, if not a standalone cloak and craft. And then we look to the right here. We just see weird little pieces and things poking out. So I think this has got to be some type of cloak and craft. And we've got these straight lines. You know, what is going on? There's something too that looks very geometrical here, like it's either a square or a diamond with some stuff fraying off of it. Just a lot of activity going on in the scene. See what you think is happening. Then we're going to look at the overall scene once again. And I think we're going to come into this area. First we're going to enhance the whole thing. And look at the strange movements of all this. These are even almost parallel arcs coming down out from that direction. And then we got this weird kind of fuzziness happening. But all of this has to be a cloak and craft. You know, this looks like actually triangular form or peak at the front. This is very looking triangular in shape. So I think this is part of this overall thing, which is a cloak and craft. Just a lot of high strangeness, as they say, is going on in that scene. We'll zoom in on this one more time because I'm just fascinated to see if we can pull out any more detail with it. And actually I see like, you know, this square-like form and this like pipe-like form coming off of here. So again, as I've said before in other shows, I would love to see what these things actually are doing and looking like without all of the smoke and mirrors and cloaking. So we'll see if that ever happens one day. Anyhow, this is interesting too because we're going back to that other little squiggle form. So this is looking more and more like we see these two very distinct lines, you know, if you can see them too. So that's a triangular shape, you know, the top of a triangle. And again, we see this stuff happening in here with this texture and actually specific shapes and forms coming out of here. So I'm going to say this thing is like a ghost-like, got some kind of ghost-like cloaking on it. And that's why I think there's this chemtrail coming through, because others are trying to hide the fact that we have craft all over in the sky cloaking. Here's with some enhancement. Again, look at this kind of circular form. I'm just calling it cloak and craft. I'll leave it there, see what you think. We're zooming out again just because this whole scene is so fascinating. We've got artificial cloud now happening down here, this blanket cloud at the bottom. And here's with a little more enhancement just to look at the different color signatures. And now the more that I look at this zoomed out, it could be that this whole thing, this bright energy burst and these weird kind of patterns with a dividing line behind it, you know, got these two things happening. I think this entire thing is a craft the more I look at it. Maybe this is other craft superimposed in front of it. See what you think. Okay, we're going to look again at this area just because I can't get enough at trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And I wanted to look at these two little things with the dividing line between it. Looks like there's shadow happening. You know, these definitely have some form to them. And once again, though, see what you think. And we got this chemtrail is now being going behind other activity, which I think is little either instruments, see that bright point, or, little objects now are springing off, from this overall mass. So I'm going to say this is some type of overall bigger ship with little things, popping up off of it and going in different directions. In any case, none of this is normal cloud activity. Okay, now we're going to look over toward the northwest, and here's another little piece of high interest. So we've got these lines. It looks like it might have a trail associated with it coming this way. And this looks like the back of an alligator. The structure, the texture of it's like rough and weird, but still in two distinct rows. So we look with enhancement. I'm trying to get at a little more. I don't get too much more, but I do get that there's something else happening at this end of this whole thing. Interesting color signatures going on, perhaps another triangular shaped craft going on over here. Weird straight lines here as well with a point to it. Again, these are not natural clouds. We're going to zoom in and take the color out just to look at that thing, and look at these sharp little points and straight lines. Again, kind of reminds me of the texture of an alligator's back. Very interesting. I'm calling that cloaking craft, or part of a much bigger one. Now this gets interesting looking to the northeast, just strange, again, not normal cloud patterning. We have a straight line here, weird like standalone little object-like looking things. So here's with enhancement. Can't get at too much more what's going on, but again, is this part of a much bigger craft and we're just seeing the perimeter? Oh, excuse that, just X that out in your mind, that's just a carryover letter from editing. I didn't wipe it out. But anyway, we've got like a sky imprint here. It's a rectangle, so is that a hole or a portal or just part of a bigger ship? Or are these standalone little items? I'm not sure. I'm venturing to say it's part of something bigger. See what you think, though. Okay, this gets interesting. This is looking toward the west, coming out of a store. I was looking up, and I just saw this big looming shadow coming in. Again, I always love the backlight situations when we've got this quote-unquote sun. Again, look at my previous shows. I'm calling that solar tech up there that's veiling our true sun. Take a look around at the concept of artificial sun or solar simulators. But anyway, not only did I see this very symmetrical, pure, curved shadow moving in from above, saw some weird things happening right around the quote-unquote sun. And so here we go again. We just see that clear shape. That has got to be a cloaking craft. Again, it's more dense with stuff floating in front of it of different consistencies. And then we just have these really sharp points happening in here that look very designed. So I think there's cloaking craft in here, and we're just seeing machine parts popping out. This is a very clear triangular form. Again, none of that happens in nature. See what you think is going on. We're zooming in one more time on it. Again, look at this pure form, perfect curved. And these shapes popping up out of this thing. Just really wild. And the color signatures. And I think there's a cloaking craft here too, because look at this. It's perfect, symmetrical, like lemon shape. And there's some kind of stick form popping up out of, again, cloaking material over here. And there's a sharp point coming out of this cloud. So there's cloaking craft riddled all over the place near there. Okay, this is an interesting view looking north. A lot of interesting movement. To the right, I just took out all color just to see if we can see anything better. I'm going to leave these for you to have a look at your own leisure, see what else you can find. This gets very interesting up in here too. Like we have two superimposed sky prints, like that's kind of like a cigar shape over some kind of like a elongated weird spade shape or something. But anyway, see what you think is going on in here. And then this gets, it's pretty self-explanatory. I see this in the sky. That's not a normal cloud, nor are these, and they're right next to each other. So how do we get this bright white wisp-like phenomenon happening with these? And these are all off on, these are parallel, but then this goes off on its own angle straight. So again, none of that would happen in nature, plus another cloud form type. It's just all so bizarre. And then this gray stuff picks back up right over here. What's going on there? So I don't really have an answer on that, but I will show you this with enhancement. Something's happening here. Is that like a portal ring, or there's a craft in here and that's the way the cloaking is appearing, or are these two separate little craft that are just forming this kind of a thing, like a ring thing? And then here, these definitely look like cloaking craft. We got a fuzz out factor, got a little cloaking material wafting over the front, a very triangular, pronounced triangular shape. I don't know what this thing is doing, but I can tell you all of it is not natural cloud. Okay, this gets interesting. Pardon this little overlap over here. But we get backlit situation again, which I love. and, you know, start just to see some interesting independent shapes. So let's look at this with enhancement. Here we go. I took out the color too just to help us see them a little bit better. And to me, these are standalone shapes in Cloak and Craft, slightly different types. Especially here, we've got a point here, triangular form with like two legs, whether that's the back or the front, I don't know. Very interesting, with like a very sharp, pronounced stick coming out of it. See what you think is happening there. Okay, this gets interesting. So once again, we have these weird, you know, various types side by side, so to speak. And we look at it with enhancement. So this is pure white with like a darker form floating in there. And then here we have a triangular shape. We have little bits that are like highlight, like as if they're reflecting sun. Look at these weird things traipsing off the back though. And again, if you just had a typical wind movement moving through, there's no way it could create these. You know, so these are independent objects, and I'm calling them Cloak and Crafter objects. Okay, this gets interesting now. We're getting to the water portion of the show, out on the sea, as the cover slide hinted at. So we're about to go look at a few photos happening over Biscayne Bay, Florida. And before even departing, I noticed this huge, huge military craft coming over the sky. But what was interesting is it was right in proximity to this huge sky imprint happening at letter A. So if you look at the right-hand side at 8.1, we can see that dark, dark imprint. So I'm not sure what's going on up there, but it's something. Anyway, let's continue on. So we head out onto Biscayne Bay. And what was really grabbed my attention, it was pretty obvious right at the get-go, is this shape and two little things. So that's just all by itself, you know, pure straight line. So let's take a look at this thing with enhancement. And then we have this suspicious, like, weird formation happening over the top of it with the red-pink color signature in there with enhancement. Look at this thing, completely straight. Looks like it has like a little tail here and another little object next to it. So we'll look at it again. And I'll just keep going here. Just really bizarre. I think you can agree you can't miss that, right? I mean, look at this thing. Straight line, different consistency, denser, because then we have this looser stuff happening over the top. Something weird happening over here. Something strange happening up here too. So I'm going to say these are, you know, definitely at least two craft here. This gets it like a perfect curve, so I suspect, you know, and it's echoed. It's almost like the fender, the rim, you know, the, what do I want to say, the wheel well of a car, you know, just really perfectly curved. So something is, oh, and look down here, this is really straight. So I'm going to say this is the craft. This white one is as well, and this one too, and God knows how many other ones are hiding back in here. Very interesting though. I'm going to zoom in on it one more time because it's just so special. Look at this, how straight, you know, come on. If that's not a craft, you know, tell me what it is, please, in the comment sections below. And then just off to the left of the screen of what we were just looking at is looking toward we're looking toward the east, and it would be toward the north to the left of the screen. Look at this. So at first, you know, it doesn't look like much, although these are by themselves completely at a different altitude than everything else. But then we have a triangular shape up there. So, oh, and here we have a little cormorant. I think it's a cormorant here down here. Cormorant. I think that's what that bird is. Let's see. We'll get to that in a second. But anyway, look at this. So we've got, with enhancement, we see a little bit more. And then zoomed in, look at this. It's a perfect poised triangle on top of something. You know, so I'm going to say there's a Cloak and Craft here with, I don't know, some type of structures that are holding this in place. Maybe this just serves as a launching pad for this thing. And this thing is in tandem with this as well. Again, they were at a different altitude than everything else, and they stand out. Oh, here we go. Cormorant. Sorry, I meant to say. I believe that's what that is. Anyway, this is interesting because we get our number 27, if you remember at the beginning of the show. And I just couldn't resist taking a picture that we've got the channel marker and this little guy or girl, and then this happening right behind it. And here's with some enhancement. Again, the straightness of this line. You know, what is this thing? Would love to see it without all of the cloak on it. Then we go further out into the bay, and what captured my attention was just this interesting scene, not only of how these boats are racing across parallel more or less, but also we get again these two little fragments that are standalone. They're the only thing this low in the atmosphere, you know, very low, and just like they just seemed really odd. So we look with enhancement, and we have like this vapor trail going behind this one, something happening here too. So I have to say that's got to be Cloak and Craft happening in there. I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit more just to see if we can pull out any features. And I just still, just scream something's odd, something's wrong with this picture. All right, here's just a beautiful view down into the bay water. So this is only about 5.5 feet deep. So we're just looking at beautiful water with a white sandy bottom. Okay, now we're going to look at other strange cloud activity to the north, and what caught my attention was this kind of mass here, a little bit here, but mainly this thing. Looks like there's a hole at the end of it, like a tube, and then the smoothness of this with the flatness right below, just something was really off about the overall scene. So with enhancement, we see a little bit more. These look like triangular shapes emerging here too, and then again, this thing with like a hole at the end of it. It's just really bizarre. So we're going to zoom in on that thing with the hole in it. Look at it, it's like a tube. And then there's something that looks like it has structure happening at the end of it. So this is just really, really strange. So I'm definitely calling that some type of cloaking object. See what you think. And then here's just another view looking to the north up the clouds. I was looking at the profiles to see if I could see anything. And look at this. This looks very different in character than anything else happening here in this too. So we look with enhancement, and this is what we get. We have even these little regularized, look like structured points along this ridge. So I'm going to call that some type of cloak and craft. And then this got weird too, looking east. Look how dark this was with a perfect curve. And it looks like it's a part of something bigger, because it's also strange. It's an anomaly happening here at B. And so we look with enhancement, and there we go. Definitely see that. See the shadow in there, how perfect that is. It's almost like a fin popping out, like a dorsal fin of, something, some kind of fish. And then look at this. What are these strange squiggle lines? That's not anything that happens in a natural cloud form. Actually, down here too, we get the hint of something strange, a very pure straight line. And look at this dark point here. So I'm going to say there's some cloak and craft happening all in here as well. And we're going to look at it one more time, zoomed in at that little fin portion. Look at that. Totally, literally stands out. And you can see it's a part of something bigger, like it's like the ridge of something. Anyway, have a look more in your own time. And I think this might be something cloaking overall in here as well. I think we're seeing the top of a separate craft, and this would be the bottom line. See what you think, though. And then this one gets interesting, too. So I'm looking off in the distance, and I see this. There's a lot happening, but I'm just going to focus. Actually, if you look at C, there's a perfect triangular shape here. But then I noticed this weird thing. Looks like it's just perching on the top of something else. And then we have this little weird bit, obviously, here at D as well. So we're going to definitely look at this with enhancement. And here, see these straight lines I'm seeing? It's like a weird, like something sitting on top of something else. So we're going to look, and then D, we get clear. It looks like an independent craft with a trail behind it. Other weird phenomenon happening up in here. And we're going to zoom in just on this thing because it was just so bizarre. And I only saw it for a split second, and I looked back later, and then it was gone. And then look at this. This is like, let's see, like a kite shape, perfect kite form. So we're going to look at this with enhancement. It was really intriguing. And look, we have depth and dimension to this thing, so I'm going to say that's an object as well. This looks like an object too. Look at this straight line, little truncated cap, another straight line with like legs on it. So I'm going to just say that is a cloak and craft sitting there. All right, then this is looking off to the west, back on land again. And we have this strange artificial looking cloud. I've been just seeing these too much lately. Frayed edge, very weird consistency, very like dense mist-like. You can tell it's artificial. Now again, is this, I used to think that maybe that was human created, but now more and more I'm seeing that this has got to be of ET origin, because they just pop up out of nowhere, and then you got these weird things popping off. So A and B look like craft with, jet stream or streams, craft streams coming behind them. So let's look at this with some enhancement. We get this weird hole, looks like a vortex or something going in. Again, these look like standalone objects popping up out of this thing. We've got movement coming out this way, and these are going this way. So there's no way with a natural airflow you would get that happening. Weird objects happening back here at C.1 as well. So we're zooming in on those little objects to the right of that wedge, and clearly these look like objects, That's all I'll say, and I'll leave it there at that, and you can look more in your own time, see what you find. And this is the photo of the day and the close of the show. As I mentioned, we have channel marker 27, and we opened up with number 27, and I do believe this is a cormorant. And I put a question mark just because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. In Biscayne Bay. So thank you for watching Things Here a While with me. I wish you a gorgeous weekend if you're in it already, or if you're about to be. and mainly just a really happy right now. And above all, I wish you tremendous love and peace. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.